Welcome back. Welcome back. This is Rod Powell here with your number one source for education, inspiration, and motivation on what I feel is the number one most underrated career opportunity in business today. That's a career in the insurance industry. And today we have, we got a heavyweight in the building. Our guest today is a financial educator. He is a best-selling author, has authored 4 books, which we'll talk about today. He's the founder of Aqua Financial Center in Woodland Hills, California, and really is on a national campaign to spread financial literacy. He's one of those people that once you meet him, you never forget him. His recently released book, Cracking the Rich Code, is an Amazon bestseller. It features also him, along with himself, Tony Robbins, Kevin Harrington from Shark Tank, Jim Brett, but really today is all about him, as he was recently honored as also one of the top 100 global leaders in the insurance and finance industry. So you want to listen to the words that he is going to share today on this interview. I want to welcome to the You Should Get a License podcast, Mr. Hold on, I got to say it right. The financial gentleman, Mr. Rory Douglas.
Man,
Rory, how are you doing today?
Man, I am doing amazing, Rod. Man, I listen. Words can't express, man, how appreciative I am to be on your show, talking to you. I have a lot of respect for you, man. I just recently met you a little while back through one of my colleagues, man, and I'm just so excited about being here today, and really excited that I get a chance to talk to someone that's pretty much cut from the same cloth that I'm cut from, in the same business, with a wealth of knowledge. And I'm excited, man. So just thank you for having me. And I hope that the words that I share today is going to help a lot of your listeners and those who are looking and listening. And that's what it's all about. But man, thank you once again for inviting me on your show.
Absolutely. And thank you for, finding the time. I know you're very busy, and for those who are in this industry, this time of year can be one of the busiest of the year as we approach, the fourth quarter. This platform, as you know, Rory, is for those individuals who, are really looking to learn about, insurance. They're at the beginning of their career, or maybe they went to a recruiting interview, or maybe someone called them and they're just getting started, and they're wondering if this is really going to be what was pitched to them in the interview room when someone was speaking to them. And there's a lot of different areas and segments of this business that people join. I always like to start, before we even get into your background, which I'm really excited to talk about. Before we go there, I want to talk about your area of specialty. So I know you're a financial educator and advisor. Can you tell me a little bit about what you do with your clients and customers, and the area of specialty in the insurance industry where you focus?
Well, what I focus on is basically financial literacy. And I'll tell you the reason why. Because before the pandemic, there was a crisis in America. The average American was 1 to 2 paychecks away from being homeless before the crisis. 1 out of 3 Americans in debt before the crisis. The average American family cannot even handle a $400 emergency before the crisis. The average college student gets out of college with about $25,000 debt before the crisis. If they're pursuing to be a doctor or a lawyer or a professional, anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000. The average college student changed their major at least 4 times. And the average person who went to college in America is still in student loan debt in their late 40s. And last year in America, all car loans and credit card loans combined did not surpass student loans. But yet we're in one of the richest countries in the world. So I always tell people, we don't have a money problem, we have a literacy problem. So my main motivation is to show people how to pursue their purpose in financial education. And that consists of a lot of things. It consists of, financial aspects. It consists of insurance. It consists of trust. It consists of corporations, the whole 9 yards. But everything is really about retirement strategies and financial literacy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's so important because, oftentimes when you hear insurance, right, you're not necessarily relating it to financial literacy. You're not relating it to, really a sound plan. You're just thinking, oh man, I'm gonna have this insurance and it's something I'm gonna spend my money on and it's gonna, take this. But can we delve a little bit deeper into that to how insurance, and you mentioned trust, how insurance and the banking industry and investments are related?
Man, let me tell you, I kind of feared this, man. I knew it was going to be hot. I mean, we just started and it's burning up already. Okay, man. So, it's funny because what I found is that I would say maybe about 85% of Americans have the wrong interpretation of insurance. 85%. Mm-hmm. Whenever you use the word insurance, that's the operative word, insurance. You can't use insurance without attaching it to something. I can't just say I got insurance, but insurance on what? On what? Right? So when we think about a car, that's automobile insurance. We know that. When we think about a home, that's homeowners insurance. We know that. So what we see is that the word insurance is attached to something. Mm-hmm. But most people in America today, when we say life insurance, the first thing they think about is death or someone transitioning. Yes. However, it's called life insurance. Now, there is a particular type of life insurance that's called final expense, burial insurance, specifically for death. Now, one thing about final expense, I think everybody should have it. Final expense it pays out within 48 hours. You don't need a death certificate. And traditional life insurance can take anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks to pay out. And a lot of us don't know that because most agents, when they're giving people insurance, they don't educate them. They just give them insurance without even telling them that, hey, life insurance on average take at least 6 to 8 weeks to pay out. Now, we see people throughout the United States doing GoFundMes, car washes, bake sales, cook sales, standing on corners holding signs of bury their loved ones. I just seen it last week. I seen a woman and 2 kids standing on the corner holding a sign to bury their child. And that grieves me a lot. But the lack of financial literacy is so much needed in America that a person with final expense, Rod, can get covered for as little as 50 cents a day. Add their kid for about 12 cents a month. So do you think that same woman, a man that was standing on that corner that knew that they could cover their kid's life for 12 cents a month, they would stand on that corner? No. Do you think people would do what they're doing? They don't know. So it's a lack of financial literacy. So my whole objective is to get people to understand the true meaning of life insurance. It's exactly what it says. Life insurance is for your life. Here's the true meaning of life insurance. It's to transfer wealth. Boom. It's to transfer wealth. When we go back in history, we see Ray Kroc. You look at the documentary, took monies out of a life insurance policy to get McDonald's off the ground. Mm-hmm. Walt Disney took monies out of a life insurance policy to get Walt Disney off the ground. We see Master P. He tells everybody, my grandfather left me a $10,000 life insurance policy. I turned it into a $250 million empire, right? And then we see other people that use life insurance. So I really like to get the point across to let people know that life insurance is to transfer wealth. That's what it's all about. And most Americans don't even have the proper understanding of that. And that's, once again, a lack of financial literacy. That's why it's so needed.
I tell you, we are in an age now. See, this conversation could go in a whole different. I'm gonna bring it back because it makes me want to continue to delve and even ask more and dig deeper. But we're in an age now where, there is at least a heightened awareness for creative ways to sustain, to earn income, to be entrepreneurial, to find, different ways to, I guess, say, quote unquote, we're building generational wealth, right? Like people say this all the time, but it's very rarely that you actually hear these policies actually mentioned in those conversations. Very rarely.
You're right.
There's another book that I read recently by Eugene Miller. This the Eugene Miller book, Closing the Racial Wealth Gap, right?
Yep.
And in there, there's a quote that says, wealthy people plan 3 generations ahead, poor people plan for the weekend.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So what you're saying, as far as relating, that policy to your wealth building strategy, and not just the wealth building strategy, but your wealth sustaining strategy is very, very crucial. And I know you're one of the most knowledgeable and acclaimed individuals in the space.
And you know what? Just what you said was so important, because what we see is poverty starts, well, put it this way, wealth starts at above $150,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then poverty starts a family of 4 making about $32,000 a year.
Mm.
15,000 for one individual, poverty in America.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a big gray area, about $100,000 gray area, which means most people, 5% of the people out there witness the wealth lane.
Yes.
And when I gave you those statistics in the beginning and said before the pandemic, the average American is 1 to 2 paychecks away from being homeless, that's before the pandemic. That's not right now currently. It's much worse. 1 out of 3 Americans in debt before the pandemic. When you really think about that, what is this current generation going to pass to the next generation?
There you go.
Debt. So life insurance is a requirement. It's a requirement. But as we go along, they're going to know why it's a requirement and why everyone needs it.
That's it. I'll take one of your quotes, got to plan for the lifetime, not for the lunchtime.
You better believe it, man. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So I want to take it back before all of your accomplishments and insurance, even your background in the entertainment industry, which I want to touch on as well. I want to go all the way back to, let's say, a 9-year-old Rory Douglas. What was yes, all the way back. What was your dream job?
It wasn't that, listen, it wasn't that good. And it wasn't that good, but guess what? I love to talk about it because I really want to make sure that whenever I speak to someone about the business or being an entrepreneur, I really want to be transparent and be real about it. You follow what I mean? And I'll tell you this, that when I was in school, I was most likely not to succeed. Most likely. I got kicked out of every elementary school, every junior high school, and every high school. I got kicked out. I was labeled a troubled youth in the South Side of Chicago, a troubled youth. I had a big family, 6 brothers and 1 sister. My mom worked 3 jobs. My father passed at a young age, worked 3 jobs to take care of us. So when I was going to school, I was a very, very bright student because I could listen to the teacher, Rod, and articulate everything the teacher said. However, when it came down to open book or tests, I couldn't read things correctly. I didn't know what was going on in my life. I would read things, but I would read them backwards for some reason. And it wasn't until I was about 13 years old and my mom and myself was driving down the road in the car and my mother was trying to get someplace and she insisted I read the instructions. And I did the same thing I used to do in class. Whenever the teacher would want to do open book or something, I would create a commotion or a diversion, throw a chair or push someone to get kicked out. I couldn't do it in the car with my mother. So my mother insists, how mothers are, when they tell you better do something, you better do it. So I tried to read it, but I couldn't read it. So she knew something was wrong. So my mom took me back to the school and talked to the counselors and told them what was going on. My son has some kind of problem. He's reading wrong. He's reading things. And they diagnosed me with dyslexia. They said I had dyslexia, which means it's a reading condition where you read things backwards in your memory. So I received training for my so-called disability, and I overcame my disability. I always tell people today, you can have a disability, but you don't have to be disabled. And I see today people who have disabilities do more than people who don't. So I overcame my disability, went back to school, got straight A's, and college was very boring for me. So I've been working pretty much as a young kid ever since I was 16 years old till I can remember, working all types of jobs, whether it was sweeping the floor, roofing, washing windows, sweeping, going from that to lower management, upper management, and going all the way up to regional manager. So I've been through a lot of emotions in terms of from the bottom to the top. I always tell people I went from the streets to corporate suites. That's what I tell people. I went from the street to corporate suite. So my beginning wasn't that rosy, but I'm glad that I went through what I went through, because it actually made me the person that I am today, because I can pretty much feel the pain that people feel in despair. And at the same token, I can relate to those individuals who are, whether it's the boardroom or on the street, I can relate to both. And I take that and use it as my superpower. So I use my disability as my superpower. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and you're an example for those who think that they might be limited, by their background, where they come from, how they were raised, they didn't have access to this. And look, there's a saying that one of my old mentors used to say, look, you can make excuses or you can make it happen, but you can't do both at the same time, and you made it happen. You found a way. And it sounds like, with the support, of your mother, making sure that, hey, look, I know how moms can be. I know how my mom is. Look, we're gonna find a way to make this work, right?
Yeah.
And rise above. What did you feel like were your options back then? Like, not now, because obviously, anybody who watches this video, you can look at his backdrop, which is not his backdrop, his house. You'll know it turned out okay. It turned out all right. But when you were a young man and you were having these difficulties, what did you think your options were?
It's really funny that you said that, because back then I sort of loved the space that I was in. Let me tell you the reason why. What I see today is that more people spend more time outside of themselves and very little time with themselves. Whenever you have a disability, you spend time with yourself, and you know your limitations, because you're constantly rehearsing everything. See, the common person could pick up a book and just read it. I couldn't read it, so I had to listen to someone read it so I can articulate it. So I became my best actor. I was playing the best role. Does that make sense? Yes. So people today spend more time outside of themselves, very little time with themselves. And I think that's the secret. You got to spend more time with yourself. I always tell people, your job, Rob, is what you get paid for. But your calling is what you are made for. What I mean by your calling, the thing that you was called to do, the gift that's inside of you. Everybody have greatness inside of them. Whatever that gift may be, that's what you are called to do. So by me spending time with myself, it gave me a lot of time to get to know myself. Today, what's happening in the marketplace or in society today, people are going to school because based off what their parents want them to be or to do. It's a lot of peer pressure out there. Very little people are making decisions themselves. And how do I know that? The average college student changed their major at least 4 times. Right. And every time you change your major, that's just more money. That's it. But the bottom line is I really, really urge people today, spend time with yourself. Get to know who you are. That's what it's all about. So for me, it was a good thing, because I had a chance to really see who I am and whose I am and what I could actually do, even though I had a disability. So
really you gave yourself, the time and freedom, like to learn yourself, like to really get to know who you were well and find what was going to be the best road and path for you to move on. Exactly. Because when you have a disability, you got to learn how to live with it. It's like, imagine a person being blind. Right. Well, if you see every day, you don't know what it is like to be blind. But when you're blind, you got to keep in mind, you got to feel your way around. You got to learn how to maneuver and do certain different things. And that's why I'm telling you that whenever you're suffering from something, if you have the strength and the courage to actually challenge it and work through it, you'll come out better and not bitter. Yeah, you have the best thing. I mean, there's so many quotes that we're gonna be able to pull from this interview. It's gonna be amazing. Ryan, who was my assistant that was kind of sending the emails, he's gonna have an incredible time, just creating these clips, because he's just gonna love all of these anecdotes, and everybody who's listening is gonna just get so much value out of it. So let's talk about your growth and career progression, and ultimately how you ended up in the financial services space, because you have a background in the entertainment industry that is also very impressive, and you had a lot of success there as well. So take me from the time, I guess, starting at that 16, 17-year-old kind of, up and through college. How'd you get into the entertainment industry, and then how'd you end up transitioning into the financial services industry?
Yeah, right. Being in a Black household as a kid, my mom and my dad, man, they were starch Motown. I mean, I heard Marvin Gaye, I heard all Smokey Robinson, Stevie Wonder. That was the base, which means Michael Jackson. So I've always loved music. I love music, and as a kid, music was pretty much something that I just loved. And as I worked all of those jobs in corporate America, one of my best friends, his name is Melvin Johnson, and he was basically in the music industry. And I was somewhat like a mentor to him. He came to me all the time for advice, and he used to tell me, he said, man, listen, you'll be good in the music industry. You should get in the music industry. Well, I didn't know anything about the music industry, but I love music. But Mel would always tell me, you'll be good in the industry for management. You need to manage people, right? And, I basically just pretty much followed a lot of things that he was doing along that time. I would pretty much see what he's doing and everything. And I saw that he was really progressing. This guy was really growing, became a music manager, started managing people. And he told me one day, he said, hey, and I'm sure you remember MCA Records. Mm-hmm. He said, hey, listen, man, I have an opportunity for you to come on a partial tour with us. I can't pay you that much, but I can pay you a little, but you can go on the tour and you can see if you like it or not. And if you like it, then it may be something that we can make happen for you here, right? Mm. And I said, you know what? I told him, I said, man, yeah, I would love to do that. But when I told him I would love to do it, first thing was in the back of my mind, I'm working a job and I have a kid. And I'm like, if I go on this tour, what about my job? So I went to my boss at that time and told my boss and made up some story and said I wanted to do something, a vacation. I can't remember what I told the boss.
Now, what industry were you working in? What industry were you working in at the time?
I was working in the retail industry as a manager.
Okay. Oh, you can't, no days off. No days off
as a manager. And the tour was coming around right after the summer. So it was crazy, right? It's like peak time. And I told my boss, I came up with an excuse because I was a great manager. I said, hey, can I take a couple of weeks off? And my boss said, no, we can't give you a couple of weeks off. We can't do that. I can give you a few days. I can stretch a week. That's the most I can stretch. So I'm like, man, I had to make a decision. And the decision was whether or not if I was going to take that opportunity. I apologize for that. Whether I was going to take that opportunity or not. And I basically went on the tour. And when I went on the tour, I got on the tour, man, and I started to see what they were doing. And I was just really, really just helping. And I learned something about helping. It's power and service. I always tell people today, don't get involved with things based on the money. Get involved with things based on the potential opportunity. So when I was on that tour, man, everybody that wanted me to do something, I did it. And then I had pretty much gathered a name for myself in that short period of time. They would call me Big Man, the go-to guy. Go to Big Man, he can get it done. He can get it done. He can get it done. And I met a lot of people along the way on that tour. And to make a long story short, I never went back to the job because when I was on the tour, one of the main guys, I can't say his name, but everybody would know his name. He told my good friend Melvin, he said, listen, I want that kid to be on this tour. So it ended up turning into a couple of week assignment to the full-fledged tour.
Wow.
And being on that tour, I met a lot of people. And when I got off the tour, I met a lot of people and I had the opportunity to be Bobby Brown's road manager. And I had the opportunity to work with Dave Hollister as his manager. So I learned a lot, talked to a lot of people, and then I became a music manager. And one of the guys who were on the tour, which was an attorney, his name is Joseph Gelman, he also saw something in me and he told me, he said, hey, have you ever thought about starting your own music business, your own management company? Because he seen that my friend Mel was a music manager. Have you thought about it? I said, Joseph, listen, I never thought about starting my own company. I'm really working on becoming a music manager. He said, well, I'll tell you what. He said, if you really want to do it, I'll show you how to do it. And that's how my music company was born, because it started with RKD Music Management. It was with my law partner, his name was Joseph Gelman, and myself, and it was in Beverly Hills. So by me going from from the streets to Beverly Hills with a music management company. It brought a lot of attention to what I was doing. We did some amazing things. And I was in the music industry for a long time, about 25 years. And you know, because you're part of the industry, you know how it goes. We went from CDs to downloads.
Yes.
So the profit margin just changed. We went from CDs to downloads.
Yes.
But I was in the R&B era.
Yes.
And I transitioned from the R&B era and went to the gospel era. And in the gospel era, they wasn't burning CDs at all. So that was one part. They wasn't burning the CDs, but things started to change with downloads. So we made a decision, Joseph and myself, to sell the music company to a known music company, music label, and we sold it for an undisclosed amount. To this very day, I still get royalties. But the bottom line is that was a great opportunity for me. And once I got out of the music industry, I took a couple of years off and I was traveling and doing a lot of nice stuff. And I had to make a decision what business I was going to get into. First, I contemplated real estate. Thought about that. Also thought about film finance. Although I did start dipping in film finance a little, I was involved with a lot of projects. This Christmas with Chris Brown, I was involved with that project. Also, I did some gospel projects, independent gospel soundtracks. So I did a lot of that, you know, made a little money, but it really wasn't the passion. My passion was really music, but my passion was really helping people. So I'm wondering, am I going to get involved with real estate? I looked at that and I said, okay, everybody's doing real estate. That just seems so boring to me. And one day, my realtor, when I'm looking for some property, my realtor recruited me. My realtor told me, she said, because I was talking to her and I was letting her know business that I was in the past. And she started asking me, well, how much do you know about money? I said, well, to be honest, Lori, I don't know too much about money. I know about business, but not too much about money. She said, well, wait a minute. You know what? You may want to get involved with what I'm involved in. I said, you involved with real estate? No, this is not all that I do. I'm also involved with the financial service industry. And she said, this is what we do for people. We help people, we show people, we do this, we do this. And it really touched my heart, because I'm gonna tell you the reason why. Because when I was in the music business, I made millions of dollars. And I also lost millions of dollars. And it really, really bothered me because I made a lot of money in the year. And at the end of the year, when it was time to start cutting checks and what my profit was, my business partner would say, hey, there's your check. And I was like, wait a minute. Hey, remember that tour we went on? Remember those clothes? Remember that video shoot? Remember that studio? All these things, man. And I said to myself, just like when I had my disability, I said, I will never allow myself to get in a position like this again, to be able to make so much and lose so much. So I made so much, lost so much, and then had to try to regain part of it back. So I said to myself, Rod, I said, I'm never going to put myself in a position like this again. I became an advocate reader. I took every book on finance I could find, man. And I would read those books on finance, read the books, read books. I mean, I had so many books I would read. And I was just self-taught, learning about finance. That's because I was resorting back to what I did in the very beginning. When I was spending time with myself and my disability, I just started to apply myself. And by doing that, I found out that I had a lot of passion toward it. I had passion toward finance. And once I had that passion toward finance, I was invited to they call it a BPM. I was invited to a meeting. Okay. And I went to this firm and went to the meeting and heard what they were talking about. And I'm sitting up there, man, just listening and looking. And then they start talking about the compensation. My eyes start to open. Right. You guys get paid this much money just to do that? Right. Are you serious? I couldn't believe it when I saw the compensation. So I was like, hey, I signed up right away. Once I saw the compensation. In other words, I like what they were talking about learning, but when I saw the compensation, the structure, I said, hey, man, I got to get involved with this. Yeah. And unbeknownst to me, you know, it's the most underserved industry, like you said, the insurance industry. There's more millionaires created in this business than anywhere else. And I saw it. And not only did I see it, I learned to love it. And to this very day, I would do it for free. I love what I do. So that's how the transition from the music industry went to the financial service industry. But it was a lot of gray areas in between, making a decision what direction I was going to go in. But like I said, ever since I've been in the financial industry for several years, every day I wake up, I'm still waking up with a lot of energy. And I still believe to this day that 90% of winning is simply excitement. I stay excited. I love what I do. And I love the fact that right now is so much opportunity for those individuals who are coming up. But most people, they don't take this route because, once again, it's financial education, it's financial literacy. So I call myself a change agent to give people information to pursue their purpose in areas of financial education.
Yeah, wonderful, man. Wow. Look, here's the thing, Rory. You've already had a successful career. You didn't have to go this route. And yes, you could have gone into the real estate. You developed the passion for finance, but I think the biggest thing that you said there is that you, at the end of the day, you wanted to help people. You wanted to be of service to people. So you were looking for the opportunity that was going to give you the most value, to give you the opportunity to add the most value to people directly, right? After this time, after all this time in business, whether it be entertainment, whether it be the insurance services, now you've had success. You don't have to keep putting information out there. You don't have to continue to work with people, work with individuals or young entrepreneurs or mentoring, other individuals who are starting their careers or maybe at the middle point of their careers and leveling up. What keeps you motivated, Roy? Like, why don't you just say, okay, I'm good, I'm gonna chill and just vacation and enjoy my house and just be good?
Well, there's a scripture that says that just man leaves an inheritance for his children's children's children.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the information that I have is so valuable that it's not really about money.
Right.
What it's really about is giving people information. And you mentioned value. I always tell people when value is made clearly, decisions are made easily. So you don't have to sell people anything, because when value is made clearly, decisions are made easily. So it's really all about showing people value, not only in what you do, but value in what you provide. Yeah. And I know the information that you have, the information that I have is so valuable to young people coming up today, because today young people are still given the old psychology of going to school, get a good education, get out, get a job.
Yes.
And you and I know that job stands for just over broke. It's nothing with having a job, but job just stands for just over broke. Mm-hmm. How do I know that? 50% of Americans who have a job spends about half of their monthly income just on rent or mortgage in America. And the average millionaire has at least 7 streams of income, and the average American has 2 jobs. So my passion is really educating people, man. When I say this education that we give people, it's not given in college. It's not given in school.
Yeah. So
we are very, very valuable in the marketplace. And we got a lot of things that we fight against. We fight against not only the industry, we fight against Wall Street. Mm-hmm. Because when we talk about life insurance versus talking about securities and things of that sort, it's 2 psychologies.
Yes.
You see? So I think people need to know that there are unsecured accounts and there also are secured accounts on both tracks. And we need to give people the education on both sides. But I'll tell you this, when people work on their jobs, whether it's 10 years to 30 years, and they have a 401k or TSP or 403b or 457, the average American don't even know that these are Internal Revenue Service tax codes. But when you think about people's retirement money sitting inside of annuities, that's a retirement vehicle. That's a life insurance vehicle.
Right.
And see, what we find is the hidden secret, and I don't want to go too far with this, but the hidden secret is you can't get away from life insurance. When you walk inside of a bank and you see the bank says the FDIC only insures your money up to $250,000. Well, the FDIC insures the bank. So who has the money? The same bank that people put their money in. And I'll just say this, on average, in America, banks give us about -1%. We know that, -1%. I can go down to the decimal, but let's just say -1%. And then when we look at inflation, I call it the silent killer. Inflation right now is about 4.5% in America, soon to be more. So we have to think about that. If the bank, we have to think about that. If the bank is giving us -1% and inflation is 4.5%, you got to have at least 5% or greater just to even beat taxes and inflation. So you can literally be saving money today and losing at the same time, because every year taxes and inflation goes up and then the value of our money goes down. But there's only one problem. The banks give us simple interest. Life insurance give us compounding interest. And everybody's saying, where do I get compounding interest from? So I always tell people, would you rather put monies in the bank and get -1%, or would you rather put your money where the bank put their money? Where the bank put their money? Well, the bank do a few things. The first thing the bank do, Federal Reserve, fractional banking, which you know about, fractional banking. Well, during the pandemic last year, the banks were not required to keep any of your deposits. Right now, by law, banks are required to keep only 10% of our deposits.
That's it.
So if I put $1,000 in the bank is going to keep 100, but invest the 9. We don't know where they invest the 9 at and how they invest the 9. But here's the thing I always tell people. The same bank that you save money in doesn't even save your money. So don't you want to know where your money goes? Well, banks do fractional banking, as I said that also too. Banks also are heavily vested in life insurance. They get involved with home loans, student loans, credit cards, stock market, S&P 500, Standard & Poor, but banks are heavily, heavily vested in life insurance. It's called BOLI, bank-owned life insurance. The banks were so infatuated with life insurance last year, Rod, that the banks in America purchased over $190 billion in life insurance. So now, people say, what did they do with that life insurance? They took that life insurance and they covered their execs and their employees. They take the cash value that's in life insurance and they do fractional banking. And guess what? All of it's tax-free. And we'll talk about that as we go along.
That's it. Those are the deferred compensation plans and all those executive packages where they can have a lot of income, but they can minimize that tax liability by throwing it into those insurance vehicles.
Yes, exactly. And I always tell people, BYOB, be your own bank. We can do the same thing the banks are doing.
I was gonna say, and then they can accrue that cash value, draw on that cash value,
and transfer wealth.
There you go. Right. Right.
So this conversation we having, man, listen, they're not getting this anywhere. You're not going to get this anywhere. They better take this and run with it.
Oh, it's serious business. We start putting this out there. You're going to be getting some phone calls and DMs and messages with some questions. Indeed. I mean, we've had a chance to, interact on just a few different occasions. One time I'm listening to you, speak, in a forum where how we got connected. We had a conversation. Now we're having a conversation. Every single time I'm learning something new.
No, we brothers, man. Come on, man. We brothers. It's bigger than that.
I'm learning something new myself. So question I always like to ask, it's called You Should Get a License, right? And we want to say, well, why? Okay, I can learn, financial literacy and I can handle my own business, but why should I get a license? So can you tell me, like, how is your life different? You had a fabulous life before getting a license. You got a fabulous life afterwards. How's your life difference before having a license versus after having that license?
I'll tell you, when it comes down to whatever it may be, whatever trade or profession that you're pursuing, you want to make sure that you are documented. In other words, you want to be official, and one thing I did love, I know that in the real estate business, you have to have a real estate license.
Yes.
And then when you get into the life insurance business, you have to have a license also too. And one thing I love about the life insurance industry, because you're not pretty much inside of a pigeonhole. You can have license in so many different states. I'm licensed in over 46 states. Mm-hmm. But when you really think about the opportunity that we have to be able to not only help countless amount of individuals, also you have this is one business where you can really change people's lives.
Yes.
Because see, I can sell you a house, but I can't sell you your destiny. I can't sell you your financial outcome. And that's one thing about life insurance. You know, whether we like it or not, we really are used to really go in and help people to prepare for their future, right?
Yes.
So I love the fact that by having a license and having the ability to be able to do a lot of things, especially today, like right now, today, it's crazy because we've gone from brick and mortar to click and order. And it's funny because before the pandemic, my business was about 85% face-to-face in the office. So now it's polar opposite. It's about 85% technology and the difference in the office face-to-face. And I've seen about a 90% increase in my business during the pandemic. And this is a business that is pretty much untapped. You're in the right place at the right time. I always tell people this. We have $13 trillion sitting in US banks earning less than 1%. If you're in this business, you better get a piece of that. $13 trillion sitting in the bank earning less than 1%. And you have access to show people how to get more interest, not only more interest, plus one thing nothing else can give you. Stocks can't give you this. Investments can't give you this. There's one thing that no investment can give you, is guarantees. And the life insurance can give you guarantee. So this is a guaranteed business. And not only $13 trillion sitting in US banks earning less than 1%, $27 trillion sitting in retirement plans, 27 trillion. And we have 1 million baby boomers retiring every single day that needs help. This is a $38 trillion business. We have our fingers on the pulse. You can go Google, go Series. What is the highest paid industry? What industry carries the most millionaires? And they'll tell you, financial services. So if you're in this business, you're at the right place at the right time. However, you got to be an entrepreneur, not a wantrepreneur. There's a big difference between an entrepreneur and a wantrepreneur. And wantrepreneur is someone who wants to do it, but don't do what it takes to make it happen. But an entrepreneur is a person that's willing on turning their 9 to 5 into their 6 to 9.
I like that. Yes. 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 I tell you the anecdotes, the anecdotes. So I want to make a transition as we start kind of rounding the corner here. And I want to talk about the books because you are educating. I can tell that you have the passion for education. The excitement is apparent. The enthusiasm is there. You know, at what point did you start to transition into the books? I have, one of the books here, The Power to Get Wealth. The other one, which is the newest one, Cracking the Rich Code. You have two other books that are in circulation as well. All of them selling very well, helping a ton of people. What made you transition into becoming an author as well?
Well, by being in the music industry, and you know this, in the music industry, publishing and royalty is one of the main things.
Yes.
And I noticed that in the insurance business, we have the opportunity to really build. I always tell people, would you rather be a 5-star chef or have a string of restaurants? Quite naturally, you want a string of restaurants. And in our business, you can have a string of restaurants. So you can really create generational passive income for yourself. That's one great thing. And I noticed that from being in the entertainment industry, you got to have a product. You got to have content. And I said to myself, when I get into the insurance industry, I want to make sure that I have content, because today people, they don't really buy books. They don't buy music. They buy you, right? So it's important, especially for young entrepreneurs, that you be you. That's what it's all about. You have to be you. And right now we're in a society of artificial intelligence, AI. You go into the bank, you see machines. You go into the market, you see machines. You go into the airport, you see machines. And a lot of people don't know, Rod, that in the next 5 years in America, 85 million jobs are going to be displaced due to artificial intelligence. And we got kids today paying for a trade that is going out when a new one is coming in. So when it's all said and done, when you really look at this thing, we have to really set ourselves up to be able to meet the time. And that's what it's all about. That's why earlier this year, I spoke at MGM Grand Hotel on Insure Tech, with technology and insurance together.
Yes.
We clearly have gone from brick and mortar to click and order. So the insurance industry right now is wide open, but you got to always have, don't just, how can I say it? I'm an entrepreneur, independent thinker. You want to brand yourself, but we don't want to get into this industry. And it's okay to work for organizations. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the same token, you got to brand yourself, because it's important to have different streams of income. Does that make sense? So if you're working a job, or if you're working for a company in the insurance industry, great. Learn as much as you can, get as much as you can get out of it. But the bottom line is, when it's all said and done, people don't buy things, they buy you. So you got to be willing on being you. And if you're going to be you, you have to take what you have and you got to put it to work. That's the reason why I got started with books and things of that sort. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Well, look, we'll have all the links, for the books, so you can just click in order, you don't have to go brick and mortar. You can click in order.
Click in order.
Right at the bottom of the YouTube video, to take you to Amazon and grab the books. Let's talk about the 4 books. So the Power to Get Wealthy, Artificial Intelligence, Fear to Freedom, and Cracking the Rich Code, are the 4 titles.
Right. And for your listeners, I'm going to send you out 5 books for your listeners. You can give 5 books to the listeners, autographed copy.
Hey, look, the first, so this will be on the clip. The first 5 DMs that we get when this clip is released, I will send you out a copy of Rory's book.
Yes, definitely.
The first 5. So when you hear this, first 5, you'll get a copy. You better act fast. No, thank you for that. That's going to be amazing. So look, at this point, what's next? What's the dream now? What's the goal now?
Man, the goal is, I'm just beginning. I just recently turned 58, man, but I feel like I'm just beginning. The goal right now is to empower as many young people as possible. Give them financial education, not only financial education, show them true entrepreneurial skills. Right now is the best time. I don't know who's listening, looking right now. It's your time.
Yeah.
This is the best time. And it's all about basically finding something that you believe in and putting your heart in it to fight for it. I want people to know that the insurance industry is not a job, it's an opportunity, which means if you get involved with this business, you can have a job. If you get involved with this business, it's just going to make you a better business person. Just because a person is in real estate doesn't mean they have financial literacy. Or if they're doing Bitcoin, doesn't mean that they have financial literacy. Financial literacy is a must. So that's what it's all about with me, financial literacy, because I think it's a shame that the average American is 1 to 2 paychecks away from being homeless and 1 out of 3 in debt. So we have to break that cycle. And 85% of Americans are dissatisfied with their job.
True indeed. So for that person who's listening, maybe they're on the fence. Like I said, maybe they had an interview or they have a friend who's in insurance, that said, hey, you should really take a look at what I'm doing, like your realtor said to you, or someone who's listening to this and they say, what he's saying makes sense, but they're still a little bit undecided. What would be like kind of the final messaging, to that person to just go ahead and take that action?
Well, I'll tell you this, to get started in the insurance industry is the cheapest start. If you try to start your own business for yourself, you're going to be paying a few grand. In the insurance industry, you can pay a few $100s and get into the industry. What do you got to lose?
Yes.
What do you have to lose? So I tell people, I think that it should cost more to get involved with our industry. It's very little to get started. So what do you have to lose? But I'll tell you this, if you don't have a passion for helping people, it may not be the opportunity for you. Absolutely. But if you have a passion for helping people, this business will not go in vain, because you're going to use it all of your life. You're going to use the aspects of this business for your whole life. It's going to help you be a better businesswoman, a better businessman. Not only that, it's going to give you strong entrepreneurial skills. That's what it's all about. It's going to give you social skills. It's going to show you how to talk to people. It's going to show you how to close, how to do business. It's going to show you how to be relentless. It's going to show you how to win. That's what it's all about, man. So I'll tell you, if you have passion, if you have a purpose, this business may be for you, but it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. But the bottom line, I'm telling you, is very fulfilling and it's very fun.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Hey, look, just one quick note. You had mentioned being licensed in 46 states, and sometimes people get intimidated when they hear that. How many times did you have to take the test?
Oh, when I first started, I took the test about 3 times.
Well, I mean, once you pass the test to get your license, how many tests did it take for you to get licensed in 46?
Oh, no more. Look, that once again, it's so easy. No more tests. You just repeat. It's too easy.
That's it. Once you take the test, you get the license,
you in.
You can pay the fee to get the other states. So don't be intimidated when you say, hey, I'm licensed in 46 states. You don't have to take it 46 times.
Right.
It's right there. So Rory Douglas, the financial gentleman, I'm gonna call you the financial guru, the insurance guru. How do our listeners, how do people get in contact with you? How do they stay in communication if they want to get some more of that wisdom and want to learn more about their financial literacy and even want to maybe potentially even work with you on planning for themselves and their families?
All they got to do is just go to Rory K. Douglas, RoryKDouglas.com, or they can see me on TikTok. I got a lot of followers on TikTok, coming up on 1 million. Help me get that 1 million.
Nice.
And they can get me on all social media platforms. Also, I have financial literacy classes that I allow people to be a part of in my mentorship program. So they can go to aquafinancialcenter.com and they can actually see financial literacy classes, also to sign up for those. And also, I'm a life coach too. I coach people how to become entrepreneurs and how to win in this industry.
Wonderful, wonderful. Hey, look, well, all the links will be in the description. Make sure you visit Aqua Financial. Make sure you visit RoryKDouglas.com and the website to get all of the information as far as financial literacy, as far as personal development, professional development. Make sure you grab the books that he has available. I want to say just thank you again so much for this time. Rory, it has been enlightening. It has been, it's always positive. It's been inspirational. And I am 100%, that is going to add just a ton of value to everyone who has the opportunity to listen. And certainly you add value anytime, someone has the opportunity to meet you as well. So thank you once again. I can't say it enough, but it's appreciated.
Thank you, man. I can't wait until I get you on my podcast because what you bring to the marketplace, I can't wait to interview you because my audience, they're just looking forward to listening to you also too. So it's just iron sharpens iron, man. Thank you for those kind words. And it's such a blessing, man, to have like minds come together and do what we do. And once again, I thank you for this and continued success to you and your family.
Hey, thank you very much. And look, for those who are listening out there, play this interview. Look, I'm gonna tell you, you're gonna have to play this one 2-3 times to get all of the jewels that were dropped, all of this knowledge and information. And maybe you heard something that sparked your interest, something that, just resonated with you and it made you think maybe you should get a license. All right, until next time, take care.